Throughout maritime history, there have been experts on the water who knew how to navigate and locate their bounty. These individuals held the secrets to where, when, and how. This still holds true today. Get ready for an angling experience filled with sea secrets, fantastic fishing, and great destinations. For on this show, it's only the captain and the camera.
On this charter, we are leaving from Port of the Islands, Florida, heading out into the estuaries and nearshore wrecks of the Gulf of Mexico. Our captain on this trip is John Brossard of Shark Chaser Charters, who is best known for his skills in catching and tagging many species of these prehistoric fish.
We're going to throw some chum out and get the sharks hopefully coming around. In the meantime, I have bait out, piece of shrimp out for catfish or whatever tends to bite it. Do you need this? Most of the time you do. Sometimes you don't, depending on how they're feeding. But it doesn't hurt to give them a little extra. Basically, it's just a block of chum that you buy at the local hardware store. A couple frozen jacks here, blue runners. All that stuff is very good to start out with until you get fresh bait. Usually a half a fish is pretty sufficient. Basically my leader that I make myself consists of about 1.5 feet of wire with a swivel, which I can show you how to do later. Use a circle hook all the time, very sharp one, very thin one, so that they hook easier. And then I use, after the wire, I use about a 6 to 8 foot, 80-pound mono.
We start off the day on an overcast sky and a very wind-blown sandbar.
I think we got one. Yep. So there's one on. You don't seem to want to turn around yet. Come on, baby. The trick to not losing a shark is always keeping a bend on the rod. Usually they're hooked pretty well, but you never know. How black they are. Blacktip. Nice one. About 80 pounds, 90 pounds. Don't know what we have yet, but it's pulling good. Definitely a rod bender. Whoa!
Captain John moves to an outside wreck, sets the baits, and is instantly hooked up again.
Shake it. Fish about this size will swim around the boat a few times before he's too worn out to unhook. If I had to call it, I'd say he's at least a 4-footer. Water's a little dirty today, so we're gonna have to get him close to see him. Nice fish, nice fish. 10,000 island shark fishing at its best. Sometimes they're splatter and better days, but that doesn't always mean they're not biting. Not done yet.
The rough seas and wind do not sway Captain John's love for catching shark.
Wants to go to the other side. Time for a release. Gotta watch them. They've been known to come up and bite people. You try to unhook them, so I stay away from the mouth. Here he is. This little 4-footer. Catch and release, Everglades style. Yes. A little rough out here, but we're doing okay. Today we decided to go out in the Everglades and catch the elusive shark. Sometimes they're here and sometimes they're not. Today we got the bite on. The tackle I use for the shark is pretty much medium to heavy. I have a custom rod here, 6 foot, built locally by a gentleman named Rick Carnes, K-Rods. Use about a 6 foot, 80-pound test leader with about a foot or two of 105-pound wire with a swivel. On the other side I tie a bimini twist and use about an 8 to 9/0 circle hook. Very thin hook. The reel usually is an 80 or a 60, 50, 60 or 80. Basically a mid-size reel, so if you get a good fish you got enough line on the spool. Yet you can catch small fish with it and it works fine. I prefer quantum, but any reel about this size that holds 300 yards of line works great. The line I use is Power Pro. I use 40 to 60 pound test, mostly 40 so it holds more line on the spool. If I go for a really big fish, which I usually use 80 pound on a conventional reel that holds about 500 yards of line. That's where we catch the tigers and the hammerheads and the big lemon sharks. Some of my favorite bait are mackerel. You can use mullet, you could use blue runners, jack, anything bloody is very good. Today we used some bonita I had, and that worked very good. Also catfish. On some days they like live out there, so we catch catfish, cut their tails off, throw them back out, and that's the best bait around. Sometimes just something sitting on the bottom, a mullet head, a blue runner half, works fine. Tides that you fish at different places. When the tide's coming in the backwaters, it's usually better because it brings the fish in with it from outside the passes. As far as offshore, it doesn't matter as long as the water's moving. Any tide works good. The backwaters, though, it makes a difference. You definitely want moving water, whether it's coming in or going out. The shallow bays that we fish, most of the time the higher tides are better. The passes, it doesn't really matter. But again, the outgoing tide is the best because it brings in fish from the deep. Brings in different fish, black tips, hammerheads. The reason why it's better on the outgoing is you basically have your chum out in the back of the boat. It goes out offshore and it brings the fish in from offshore. So the outgoing is better for shark fishing in the passes or near shore. The reason I got into shark fishing is I saw the movie Jaws when I was a kid, and it just fascinated me. I never went swimming at night again. Started fishing off a 12-foot Boston whaler in Fort Myers Beach, catching nurse sharks on pool cues, fishing rods that we made ourselves. And ever since then, I've been fascinated with sharks. I like something that pulls for 10-15 minutes instead of something you just bring in. So after catching bait, I just love going to soak some big bait out there, and you never know what you get. You can get tarpon when you're shark fishing, you get Goliath grouper, you get giant snook sometimes. You just never know till you get them to the boat and then you see what it is. Unless it jumps, then you know you have a tarpon or a spinner shark like we did today. Today we did a little shark tagging for NOAA, U.S. Department of Commerce, NOAA. You insert a tag in the shark with a tag stick that you make. You insert the shark with it. When someone else catches it again, there's a little note in the tag that you can open, and it tells you to send it in and send in information about the shark that you caught. I fish from May till September. I like fishing for shark while the water is warm. 72 is usually the period where I start fishing, usually about April. And when it gets a little too cool, when it gets under 72, I quit fishing for the winter. Summertime is when the shark come around. Today we had a great day. It was a little windy, but the fishing was phenomenal. We caught 5 sharks in about 3 hours. It's just fun to catch big fish, period. Anytime we go out there, we always have a great time.
It's been very windy and rough on the outside, so Captain John moves inside for calmer water and different species of sharks.
Chunk of bonita seems to be working today.
The key technique for shark is to keep fresh chum and bait in the water and have an active tidal current to succeed in catching fish.
They're biting about right there. Here we go again. Leader, but I haven't seen the fish yet. Here it comes. I might throw him on the boat and tag him, wear him out enough. Got the spinner kind of tired, so what I'm going to do is try and attempt to tag him. What I'm going to do is grab him by the tail and pull him up in front of the boat, and then we're going to put a NOAA tag on him. So if anyone catches him some other place, it would record how far he went, how long he was. We got to do a little measuring on him too when it's up here. Let them get a little more tired.
Captain John tags sharks for research, so he works the shark carefully to the boat for a clean tag and release.
Measure him first. 24 to the fork, 66. What I'm going to do now is tag a little slicing. No tag on. He's tagged. This has a bunch of information in it. Check if he's a male or a female. That's it. Round 2. It worked.
The wind is howling, but it does not affect the bite, and the sharks keep coming.
Bring him in the boat and tag him. Let's say 6 foot. Put the rod right here. Cut in them to make it easier. Insert the tag. Check if he's a male or female. Male. Got claspers. Nice little shark. We'll leave him a little jewelry. Swim on, baby. Another head shaker. Main one. Oh, look at this black guy. Wow. What is this thing? Like he's been in a few battles with got some scars on his head. Looks like an old sea turtle. He has 2 hooks in his mouth, one on each side. Looks like we hooked him earlier and he broke us off. So.
Captain John's experience, angling skills, and tagging technique to catch and release these great fish are amazing. He makes it all come together when locating and catching fish for a very exciting and successful day on the water.
So much for tagging that one. Quick release.
Join us again next week for another episode of Captain's Tales.
Join us again next week for another episode of Captain's Tales and try one more fishing spot online. Log on to www.captainstales.com.